Hello and welcome back to Mondo Musings. I'm your presenter, Nicardo McLean. Now, in this video, we'll take a look at two fine young female talents who announced themselves to the world back in 2017, have had a few ups and downs in the intervening years, but are now seemingly back on the road to fulfilling their tremendous potential. And the first of these two athletes of whom I speak is former Petersfield standout Shaquena Foote. Made the final of the 400 meters, as alluded to earlier, at the 2017 World U18 Championships in Nairobi, Kenya, eventually finishing fifth in that finale. And the following year, to refresh your memory, at the World U20 Championships in Tampere, Finland, she lined up in the 800 meters after winning the Jamaican Under-20 Championships with an impressive sub-206 PB performance. So incredible range illustrated there. And in 2020, to continue with that theme, prior to the unfortunate and obviously untimely intervention of the Big C, COVID-19 pandemic, which forced the subsequent postponement of that year's originally scheduled World Under-20 Games, which was then scheduled for Nairobi again, a return to Nairobi after 2017, she was certainly on course to represent the country at a third consecutive global age group championship, amazingly, having turned in a dominant 57.60 lifetime best effort to win the Carifta Trials 400-meter hurdles crown. Now, remarkably, assuming that she'd gone on, which was a reasonable assumption at the time, to formally book her ticket by placing top two, which is the first requirement at the subsequent Jamaican Junior Championships, apart from making qualifying standard, which she had comfortably done, her participating in the one-lap obstacle event would have marked the third time that she'd represented Jamaica in a different event on the world stage, which I do suspect has never happened before, not just in terms of Jamaican athletics, but maybe globally. Now, she was off the radar in 2021 upon the return of track and field action and only ran a handful of races in her first season after matriculating from Petersfield to San Diego State University in California in 2022. This year, though, thankfully, we've started to see glimpses of the special talent that had her seemingly destined for greatness in one or two or even three of the events in which she regularly competed during her high school career. Namely, the 400 meters had the speed to do some serious damage there. The 400 meter hurdles, with her combination of 800 meter, 1500 meter endurance, and 400 meter speed, could have been a force to be reckoned with there as well. And potentially the 800 meters, where she had the strength to be a factor if she so chose. Now, she ran an absolute 200 meter personal best of 23.4 at the Mountain West Indoor Championships back in February. Now, since going to San Diego State University, she's continued to run 400 meters background work, strength work, but the focus seemingly has been more so on the shorter sprints. Did a number of 60-meter indoor races, has run some hundreds outdoors, has done a number of 200s, and more recently set a 100-meter best of 11.74 into a slight headwind at the Ron and Charlene Alice Trojan Invitational on April 8th. Now, admittedly, nothing earth-shattering, but it's just great to see this extremely talented young lady who, I might add, doesn't turn 22 until July of this year, back on track and doing what she does best. Now we'll quickly transition to Sanique Walker, former Veer Technical Starlet. Now, she was a silver medalist in the 400 meters at the same World Under-18 Championships at which Shaquena Foote made her mark. And if you recall, she just missed out on the top step of the podium by the slimmest of margins to South Africa's multiple global age group medalist, Zane van der Walt, who won a bronze medal in her specialty at the Senior Commonwealth Games just last year. So she has successfully made the transition, and obviously this was something that we would have hoped to see from Sanique Walker, but it didn't quite materialize. But things are seemingly turning around. Now, she left high school for the University of Texas, was a blue chip recruit back in 2018 with multiple champs medals under her belt, 400, 400 hurdles, and 800 meters, which she won, I think, a silver medal, if I recall correctly, back in her class 3 days. So incredible range, very versatile, much like Shaquena Foote. But for one reason or another, there are personal issues going on a lot of these times. Sometimes these athletes have difficulty adjusting to the new environments in which they find themselves, unfamiliar settings, unfamiliar people around them, unfamiliar foods. The simplest of things can upset an athlete's equilibrium in that regard. But things did not quite work out. And I think any objective observer would offer this opinion. Did not quite work out for her in Austin, as evidenced by the fact that she wasn't able to improve on either the 53 low PB in the 400 that she left Veer with, or the 57.1 in the 400 meter hurdles that she ran in her final year on the Jamaican high school circuit. So in 2022, pragmatic move here, she saddled to the east, so to speak, transferring to the University of South Florida, which is also home to a number of other Jamaican athletes, including reigning NCAA indoor high jump champion Romaine Beckford, formerly of Buff Bay High. Now again, much like Shaquena Foote, she hasn't produced anything earth-shattering just yet, but it was awesome to see her PB in her pet event, the 4 hurdles, for the first time in many years, 5 years to be exact, in one of the invitational sections at the recently staged Mount Sac Relays in California. Now, next up for both Foote's San Diego State Aztecs and Walker's South Florida Bulls should be a trip to the famed Penn Relays at Franklin Field in Philadelphia next weekend. So hopefully, whether it's individual events or they're competing in the relays for their respective teams, both will continue to make encouraging strides on the comeback trail. So that's it for this installment of Mondo Musings. Now, before I go, there are 2 questions that I have in mind that I want to put to you. Are there any athletes who used to run things in high school in Jamaica who you didn't hear anything from for a while, but who are now starting to cook again? Or is there a former champ standout who's seemingly fallen off the face of the earth that you've been wondering about? Let me know down below. Now, if you enjoyed the video, why not consider subscribing, liking, or sharing with a friend or 2? It would be much appreciated. Thanks, as always, for checking out the content. Until next time, peeps, Godspeed.